Even in a year like this, there were too many great movies just to give you guys my top 10. So today, honorable mentions 25 through 11. That's what we're doing. Let's do it. What is up, Flick fans? Welcome back to my channel. Hope everyone is having a wonderful holiday, joy-filled week. We have come to the point to where we need to rank the best and worst movies of the year. And like I did last year, today, this video is focused on my honorable mentions, the movies that almost cracked the top 10 of the year for me personally, but the ones that didn't quite get there. I still love all of the movies on this list. And in a year unlike any other, there are going to be films on here that you've never heard of. But trust me, a lot of these are heavy recommendations, and if you guys feel differently about a lot of these films, let me know. Drop your lists below. What are your favorite films of the year that didn't quite crack your list? And if you enjoy these reviews, if you're excited for the top 10, be sure to drop a thumbs up and a comment down below. Hey, guess what? I have honorable mentions for my honorable mentions. Let's start with a movie by the name of Baby Teeth, which was very close to cracking my top 25 list. I loved this movie about a terminally ill teen, some of the best emotion I felt all year. Pixar's Onward, a really good Pixar movie that I feel is underrated. Not everyone feels the same way, but thoroughly enjoyed that film. Hey, we have an anime film called Weathering with You, and if you haven't seen this movie, I saw it in theaters in early 2020. It's a huge recommendation from the filmmakers behind Your Name. Not quite as good, but still really good. Bad Education, a phenomenal performance from Hugh Jackman, a really cool true story, and it was riveting from start to finish. And then Da 5 Bloods, a great movie on Netflix directed by Spike Lee. Takes a little bit to get going, but once it does, the scene, and you'll know what I'm talking about, I feel like it packs a well-worth punch. So starting with 25 on this list, we're going all the way to 11. But first up is The King of Staten Island, directed by Judd Apatow and starring Pete Davidson. The more I thought about this movie, the more it really resonated with me. It's an interesting story, and it's subtle, and it's all about a guy who just hasn't really figured things out yet. But it has that Judd Apatow style of comedy that makes some of these more intense moments a bit more digestible. And then when we get the emotion, sometimes the unexpected emotion, it works extremely well. I also thought Marissa Tomei was great in this film, Bill Burr, and it's one that genuinely resonated with me and continued to move up my list as the year went on. 24. Now, I know not a lot of people have heard of this film, directed by Ken Loach, who is a wonderful filmmaker. Sorry We Missed You. It's all about a man and his family who have been struggling against an uphill battle, and that battle is debt. Since the 2008 financial crash, things have been rough, and it's kind of one of those artistic films that moves at a bit of a slower pace that a lot of people may not be on board for. But if you want something real, a family drama, dealing with a man who he's doing everything he possibly can to support his family. A very tough relationship with one of his children and one with his wife that becomes strained because of that. And it is kind of exactly how I'm describing it. It doesn't go beyond that. But what we got from Sorry We Missed You, I believe, was great. A wonderful independent-style movie with a great director in Ken Loach. I have failed you all. I told you I was going to finish the Small Axe anthology, and unfortunately, I just haven't been able to do that. But Mangrove is one I had to put on this list. Absolutely had to, because I was kind of riveted by the way Steve McQueen was able to tell this story. Now, I am planning on doing somewhat of a catch-up video, movies I missed in 2020. I will be including most of the other Small Axe movies on that list. So I assume they'll be at least close to this level of quality, but it's going to be tough because Mangrove, dealing with the true story of the Mangrove 9 and the trial that took place in 1970, very different from the trial of the Chicago 7, but a riveting film nonetheless. The performances here are fantastic. A24, First Cow. These two guys come together, very different individuals, a long time ago, with a successful business model that does go down the path that you expect when you hear the studio is A24. They actually sent me this poster that I can't wait to hang up somewhere in this room. It's one of those films that you just don't think is going to be as interesting as it ends up being. One problem I foresee many people having is pacing here. because it is a slow trudge, but an interesting one, a well-shot one of the best-looking movies I've seen all year, and I was kind of riveted by this film. It was moving along nicely. Nope. Dick Johnson is dead. I won't hit on the Netflix films too hard because I've already had my top 10 Netflix movie countdown. But like I said before, this is a great documentary dealing with a man who, is slowly going down a path that you can't really return from at that age. But his daughter wanted to film him and his life, but also show us different ways he could die. It sounds weird when you think about it, but the documentary is really touching, and Dick Johnson is just the best. I love this documentary. Next up is a film that a lot of people are going to be shocked that isn't higher on my personal list, because I love me some David Fincher, and you knew I would at least get something out of Mank. Now, maybe I didn't feel as strongly about it as I wanted to feel, right? I was very impressed with this story. I'm a fan of Citizen Kane. I wrote stuff on it in college, and I'm very familiar with the film. So I think if you're familiar with that movie, you're going to appreciate this a lot more because it harkens back to so many things about that movie. Obviously, it's about the writing of Citizen Kane. Gary Oldman is great in this film. Amanda Seyfried is outstanding. On a technical level, it is one of the best-looking, sounding, feeling movies of the year. The story I wasn't completely there on, but I was there enough to say it's one of the best movies of this year, for sure. One that I did end up moving above it, though, and I think this is strictly because of the performances. Another Netflix film. It's Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Chadwick Boseman, Viola Davis. Nuff said. You watch this movie, she steals every scene, Viola does, and it's called Ma Rainey's Black Bottom for a reason. Now, it's a secluded film. It all takes place in one location, one time period, but Chadwick Boseman's character, what he goes through on an emotional level in this film is outstanding. He gives an Oscar-worthy performance. It's a performance-based movie, so it isn't perfect from a storytelling standpoint, but everything else is great enough to be number 19 for me. Number 18 is Boys State, an Apple Plus documentary. A24, once again, man, I loved Boys State. This is right now my favorite documentary of the year. It sucks you into this world where all of these young, up-and-coming politicians are competing in the state of Texas for this crazy election, and the way that this is filmed and the characters that we follow around, and one character in particular that you just kind of fall in love with. You're like, I'm rooting for this guy, man. It feels like an actual election, except most of these individuals on both sides actually stand for something. We'll see where they are when they're older, because eventually politics. But man, I loved this documentary. I really did. I thought Boys State was captivating, and that's why it's on my top 25 list. Then we have another Netflix film. So again, we'll move right along. It's The Devil All the Time, Tom Holland, Robert Pattinson. Just some great moments. One that just slowly rose up both of my lists. I couldn't stop thinking about it. Maybe one too many subplots, maybe. But this dark, gritty thriller feel to this film is one that I love. I love the location, I love the time period, and the performances are some of the best of the year so far. I enjoy The Devil All the Time more than others, but that's okay. It's my list. We'll speed right through this one, too. I know a lot of people that hate I'm Thinking of Ending Things, but after going through it slowly, creating my ending video, and researching... Now, you shouldn't have to research a movie, but this is one of those films that I'm okay with doing that, because the more I learned about it, the more I just appreciated and loved the heck out of I'm Thinking of Ending Things. It's so well shot. It's so well made. It's so well acting, but I had to figure out, what do these story points mean? And as soon as I created what I believe the movie is in my head, I kind of fell in love with it. Here's another film. It's called The Shadow of Violence. No, it's actually called Calm with Horses. It has two different names, which is interesting. Listen, not a lot of people have heard of this film. It's directed by Nick Rowland. Barry Coogan, one of my favorite just not talked about actors in Hollywood, but Cosmo Jarvis is our star. of this film. It's a dark, brutal film about an ex-boxer who has become this feared enforcer for this drug-dealing family. It takes place in rural Ireland. He's having to deal with all of this, plus kind of raising his autistic 5-year-old son Jack, and torn between two worlds and all of these families. And the intensity of this movie just crept up on me because I didn't know anything about it going in. But Calm with Horses kind of blew me away, and that's the name I'm going to go with, because when you think about what this movie stands for, what it means, Calm with Horses, I think just works better than Shadow of Violence, even though that title works well also and is probably cooler. But man, what an awesome, awesome movie this is, and one that nobody's talking about. I had to go Sound of Metal at 14. Riz Ahmed, just outstanding. And I went into this thinking it was going to be like a Whiplash, not knowing what the actual plot was, but it's all about a man who is losing his hearing and has to kind of be a part of this different community, one that he's not used to. And because of that, in his mind, well, he can't be what he can't be what he once was when it comes to being a drummer. So the conflict, the emotion, the tension throughout the film, and just the way it's shot, and that resolution, man, Sound of Metal. This is one I have to revisit because I feel like it could move up this list. But as of right now, 14, it's pretty good. 13, Wolfwalkers. What was my favorite animated movie of the year? Absolutely blew me away. Another Apple TV Plus film that just rocked. Now, the studio, they've been putting out great content for years, but Wolfwalkers combined almost this Disney-esque lore with the animation that is oh so beautiful from this studio. Great characters, a nice father-daughter relationship, an awesome villain, just kind of everything you want in an animated movie with this new style and flair and this adult emotion that you don't often see in a movie like this. Wolfwalkers, if you're an animation fan, you've got to watch this film. It's a must-see. I'm actually really disappointed this is at number 12. There are just 11 movies that I like just a tiny bit more. The Way Back. I have fought for this movie all year. I have tried to keep Ben Affleck in the conversation for Best Actor. I'm really trying, guys. Gavin O'Connor, he just knows how to make a good, uplifting story like this. He's done it before with a film like Warrior, and then he goes and does something completely different with The Accountant, says, hey, I like this Ben Affleck guy. And then Ben Affleck gives what I believe is his best performance. Now, it is a very cliche movie in a way because we've seen this basketball story before. We've seen a story dealing with addiction before. But these two things combined and Ben Affleck's approach here, well, that's all a bit different for me. And different enough to say The Way Back is one of my favorite movies of the year. Number 11. This is hard, guys. I went back and forth between my 10, my 11, and I actually had this at 10 almost the entire time. I just recently moved it back one notch. I'll explain why in my top 10 video, but my number 11 film is Tenet, Christopher Nolan's Tenet. So I am clearly a defender of this movie. I thoroughly enjoyed all three experiences I had watching the film in the theater. This is a must-watch in the theater, by the way. I feel like there will not be near as much appreciation watching it at home unless you have a great sound system, which a lot of people do. I see certain criticisms with the story. I see certain criticisms with certain scenes, but the overarching idea of this film, so ambitious. I've used that word a lot this year. So ambitious. I really loved where we ended up, and I loved going back through and kind of putting together the pieces, and again, kind of coming to a conclusion that I am extremely happy with. And Tenet is a Nolan film that isn't quite top-tier Nolan for me, but I still, even being outside the top 10, thought it was a great movie. I thoroughly enjoyed all three watches, and it kept getting better. So I want to throw it in one more time. These lists, they're always personal, but they are so much fun to make. On Letterboxd throughout the entire year, I had my 2020 list. Fun fact, I actually saw more original releases in 2020 than I saw in 2019. 238 movies so far, and I still have plenty of films I need to catch up on. So if a movie did not make this list, stay tuned. It could crack my top 10. Otherwise, let me know, are there some films that I missed out on this year? Because even watching 238, I guarantee there are plenty of movies I need to see, and I leave all of that to you guys. What are some movies that should have cracked this list, will crack your list, and what do you guys think are going to be in my top 10? If you Follow me on Letterboxd, you know. What do you guys think the top 10 is going to look like? Can't wait to bring that to you very soon. Appreciate you for watching, and I'll see you later.